They called him a ghost with a sword, not because he was fast, but because he moved with purpose. He spoke little, he acted less. And yet, when he did, the world stopped. This is the story of the wandering samurai, and the hidden code of discipline that can still change your life today. In ancient Japan, there were over 400,000 samurai. But when peace came, many of them lost their purpose. Their swords were banned, their titles stripped away. Some fell into despair. Some became mercenaries. But a few became something greater. They became ronin, masterless warriors who wandered not to fight others, but to fight themselves. Every morning, before the sun rose, the wandering samurai would train for hours, not for war, but for clarity. He believed every movement was a mirror of the mind. If his blade trembled, it meant his thoughts were weak. If his form faltered, his discipline had slipped. And here's what's wild, modern neuroscience backs this up. Studies from Harvard show that consistent routines and repetitive physical focus strengthen the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain that controls decision-making and emotional regulation. In other words, the samurai didn't just train his body, he literally rewired his mind. While most people chase motivation, the wandering samurai chased consistency. He didn't wait to feel ready. He showed up, tired, angry, lost, or alone, because he knew something we've forgotten. Discipline is stronger than motivation. Motivation fades with emotion. Discipline builds with repetition. And that's the secret that separates the ordinary from the legendary. The samurai's journal, written in fading ink, contained one line repeated hundreds of times. One clean cut. One honest day. He wasn't trying to win. He was trying to improve, 1% each sunrise. Today, psychologists call that the compounding effect, tiny, consistent improvements that create exponential growth over time. It's how elite athletes train. It's how top CEOs think. And it's exactly how the wandering samurai lived centuries ago. When storms came, when food was scarce, when his body screamed to stop, he whispered the same three words. Still, I move. Because in stillness, he found strength. In repetition, he found peace. And in silence, he found himself. And here's the part that matters to you. We live in a world louder than ever. Notifications, noise, comparison, chaos. Everyone's fighting a battle you can't see. But the wandering samurai's lesson cuts through time. If you can control yourself, you can master your world. Start small. Wake up 10 minutes earlier. Move your body. Read one page. Do it again tomorrow. And again. Because every time you honor your promise to yourself, you sharpen your inner blade. No, you don't need a sword. You don't need armor. You just need that quiet, relentless spirit, the one that refuses to quit when no one's watching. That's what makes you unstoppable. That's what makes you a modern samurai. So the next time life tests you, don't break, don't pause. Whisper it to yourself. Still, I move. And keep walking. Because every step you take in discipline is a step toward greatness. They said the wandering samurai could cut through silk, without tearing a single thread. But what made his strike perfect wasn't strength. It was silence. Because before every swing, he would close his eyes. And wait. No noise. No thought. Just breath. Just awareness. He believed the mind was the real weapon, and the sword only followed its command. Centuries later, science would prove him right. Researchers at Stanford found that the average person loses 47% of their focus during the day. Half of your life, gone to distraction, notifications, noise, endless scrolling. But the samurai lived by one rule. He who chases two rabbits, catches none. When he trained, he trained. When he ate, he ate. When he rested, he rested. No multitasking, no half-effort, just full presence in each moment, because he knew focus was his greatest advantage. In one story, the wandering samurai was challenged by a younger fighter. The young man was faster, stronger, louder, but he couldn't still his mind. The samurai didn't attack first. He simply waited. The young warrior grew impatient. His mind scattered between anger and pride. And that's when the samurai struck. One calm motion. One clean victory. It wasn't the sword that won. It was stillness. Today, we have more tools, more freedom, more knowledge than ever. But we're weaker in focus. We read quotes about being present, but can't stay off our phones for 5 minutes. We set goals, but our attention breaks before our progress starts. And that's why the lesson of the wandering samurai still matters. He teaches us that focus isn't a gift. It's a muscle, trained in silence, strengthened by patience. If you want to build focus, start small. Spend 10 minutes a day with no phone, no sound, no stimulation. Just breathe. Let the noise settle. Do one thing at a time, fully, honestly, without rush. That's how clarity sharpens. That's how presence becomes power. Because when the mind is still, your actions become precise. Your goals become clear. Your life begins to cut through the chaos. The wandering samurai once wrote, "To master the blade, master the mind. The rest is only movement." So today, when your mind starts to scatter, when the world pulls you in 1,000 directions, stop, breathe, and remember, you are the sword. Your focus is the edge. Keep it sharp. Because a distracted mind is a dull blade, but a calm one can cut through anything. They say the wandering samurai could stand motionless for hours. A single leaf drifting by, a stream whispering nearby, and yet his breath, steady as stone. To outsiders, he looked lifeless. But inside, he was more alive than ever. Because he understood a secret most people never learn. Stillness isn't weakness. It's control. In a world that worships speed, we forget that movement without meaning is just noise. The samurai moved with intent. Every step, every breath, every silence, deliberate. He knew that true strength doesn't come from constant motion, but from knowing when to pause. Modern psychology now agrees. Studies from the University of Chicago found that people who pause before reacting make 40% better decisions. That single moment of stillness, between emotion and action, is where wisdom lives. The samurai lived there every day. When insulted, he didn't react. When challenged, he didn't rush. He waited, and let silence do the work. Because silence reveals truth, and in truth, there is peace. Once, during his travels, the wandering samurai met a prince drowning in stress. The prince said, "I can't stop moving. If I rest, I fall behind." The samurai smiled and said, "You fall behind because you never stop moving." The next morning, the prince sat with him by the river. No talking, just breathing. Minutes felt like hours. And for the first time in years, the prince felt calm. Stillness wasn't an escape. It was a weapon. Think about your life. Every day, noise, messages, deadlines, comparison. We fill every second so we don't have to feel. But in doing that, we lose the one thing that gives us power, clarity. The samurai's code was simple. When the water is still, the reflection is clear. When you are still, you finally see your real thoughts, your fears, your strength. You realize what truly matters, and what doesn't. Stillness isn't sitting and doing nothing. It's training the mind to be calm when the world is loud. It's walking through chaos without letting chaos enter you. So when life feels heavy, when everyone's running and shouting and chasing, pause. Stand your ground. Take one deep breath. Because in that single moment of stillness, you become untouchable. The wandering samurai's last entry in his journal said, "In stillness, I found all the battles I was meant to fight, and all the ones I wasn't." Let that sink in. Not every fight deserves your energy. Not every noise deserves your attention. Not every storm needs your response. So today, be still, be calm, be precise. Because the louder the world becomes, the more powerful your silence will be. That is the art of stillness.